The air inside the palace station felt heavy the moment Rylan stepped off the transport shuttle. He did not know why. He only came to fix machines, not to enter a place filled with secrets. But something in the cold, wide halls made him think that this station held stories no one wanted to speak about. Rylan was a simple human mechanic. He liked quiet work, small tools, and jobs that others ignored. But this station was different. It belonged to Empress Selvarra, ruler of the Irani's empire, a place known for order, beauty, and strict rules. People moved fast here, never looking to the sides, never talking about anything except duty. But one thing kept coming up in whispers. The creature is still down there. Why did the Empress keep it alive? It is useless, 2,000 years useless. Rylan heard these words again and again as he walked to his assigned room. No one said what creature they met. They only lowered their voices and looked away. Later that night, when the station grew quiet, Rylan sat at his desk checking repair logs. One log caught his eye. It was old, almost ancient. It talked about a dragon predator unit, stored in a lower hangar. No one had checked it in years. Some even left warnings: do not enter alone. The creature is harmless but unpredictable. Rylan frowned. Why keep something alive for 2,000 years if no one cared about it anymore? A strange metal sound echoed under the floor. A slow dragging noise. Then a soft, tired thump, as if something heavy had tried to move and failed. Rylan stood from his chair. It came again. Thump, scrape, thump. He followed the sound through empty halls. He did not think about danger. He only felt curious. The halls grew darker the lower he went, lights blinking with age. Dust filled the corners. Pipes hissed softly, like they had been working too long without rest. At the lowest level he found a door marked with old warning signs. The paint was faded. The locks were rusted. No one had opened this door in years. Rylan gently pressed the control panel. It beeped weakly, then slid open with a slow groan. Warm, stale air moved past him. Inside the hangar the lights barely worked. Rylan raised his small lamp. Shadows stretched across the room. The sound came again, soft but deep. Thump. And then he saw it. A giant creature lay in the center of the hangar, chained not by metal but by old machine parts wrapped around its body. Its scales were dim, almost gray from dust. The creature's wings were folded tightly against its sides, held down by broken mechanical frames. Its breathing was slow, tired, like every breath cost too much strength. It was a dragon. No, not exactly a dragon. Something older, something designed by nature and changed by ancient technology. Long horns curved from its head. Soft blue light glowed faintly from the machines connected to its chest and legs. Rylan froze. The creature slowly lifted its head. Its eye opened, just one eye glowing with a dull, tired gold. It looked at him, not with anger but with surprise. As if it could not believe someone stood in front of it. Rylan felt no fear. Only sadness. The creature looked like it had been forgotten for a very long time. "Hey," Rylan whispered softly. "Can you hear me?" The creature blinked. Dust fell from its eyelids. Rylan stepped closer, one small step at a time. He saw old wires broken, rusted panels hanging loose, and ancient metal around the creature's legs that had stopped working long ago. "Who did this to you?" he whispered. The creature made a very soft sound. Not a growl. Not a roar. Something gentle and weak, almost like a sigh. As if it wanted to answer but had no strength. Rylan reached out and touched the nearest piece of broken tech. It fell off with a dull clink. The creature did not react with fear or anger. It only watched him with tired eyes. "You're not dangerous," Rylan said quietly. "You're trapped." The creature lowered its head a little, as if agreeing. Rylan took a slow breath. He knew he should leave and report this. He knew this creature had a long history, maybe a dangerous one. But something in its eyes made him stay. It looked lonely. Deeply lonely. Rylan sat down on a metal box near it. "I'm a mechanic," he said in a calm voice. "I fix things. Maybe I can help you too." The creature's eyes softened. For the first time in 2,000 years, someone spoke to it with kindness. And for the first time in his life, Rylan felt he had found something worth understanding. Something forgotten by everyone else but calling out to him in a silent, tired voice. He stayed there for a long time, talking gently while the creature listened, as if it had been waiting centuries for a human who was not afraid to come close. Rylan woke early the next morning, but his thoughts were still in the lower hangar. He kept seeing the tired gold eyes staring at him, not with anger but with quiet hope. He had stayed longer than he planned. He had spoken to the creature softly, and the creature had listened as if starved for a voice. He wanted to go back, but before he could leave his room, the door slid open. Two royal guards stepped inside. Their armor was bright silver, their faces serious. "Human mechanic Rylan," the taller guard said, "the Empress wishes to speak with you." Rylan felt his chest tighten. He followed them through long halls until they reached a tall black door. It opened into a quiet chamber filled with blue light. At the center stood Empress Selvara herself. Her presence filled the room before she even spoke. Her long silver scales shimmered like metal and moonlight mixed together. Her wings were folded in a calm but sharp pose. She turned her gaze toward Rylan. Her slit-pupil eyes were deep and old, filled with many memories. "So," Selvara said slowly, "you went into the lower hangar." Rylan swallowed. "Yes, Empress." "Alone?" she added, her tone sharper. "Yes." She stepped closer. Her footsteps were soft but powerful. "Do you know why that place was sealed?" "No, Empress." The logs were old. Nothing explained clearly. She studied him for a long moment. It felt like she could see every thought inside him. "That creature you found," she said at last, "is named Valkyr. He is the last ancient predator from the old wars. 2,000 years ago he was too strong, too wild, too dangerous. To protect the galaxy I removed his power. I made him harmless." Her voice was calm, but there was sadness under it. "After that he was no longer a threat," she continued. "But he also lost all purpose. He could not fight. He could not protect. He could not return to his world because it was destroyed long ago." Rylan looked down. "So you kept him here?" "Yes," Selvara said softly. "Locked away. Alive but forgotten." Rylan lifted his eyes. "But he's suffering. The old machines around him, they're broken. They're hurting him." Selvara's wings shifted slightly. "I know. Many engineers tried to fix those systems. All of them failed. Some left in fear. Others simply gave up." Rylan frowned. "But he didn't try to hurt me. Not even once." "That is because he is harmless now," the Empress replied. "But harmless does not always mean safe. Valkyr is still ancient. Still unpredictable. His mind carries memories of war and destruction. Even without power he can panic. And when he panics, people get hurt." Rylan thought of the tired gold eye. It had not looked like the eye of a monster. It looked like the eye of something left alone for too long. "I want to help him," Rylan said quietly. Selvara's expression changed. A flicker of surprise crossed her face. "You are the first human to say such words. Most fear the creature. Some hate it. None pity it." "I don't pity him," Rylan said. "I just see someone who's been alone for centuries. Someone who wants help but can't ask for it." The Empress slowly walked to a large window showing the stars outside. "Even if you care, repairing him will not be simple. His body is a mix of nature and ancient technology. Touching the wrong part can cause pain. Using the wrong tool can shut him down forever." "I understand," Rylan said. "But I can at least try." She turned toward him again. Her voice grew softer. "What? You owe him nothing." Rylan thought for a moment. "Because he looked at me like he remembered something. Like he was waiting for a voice that didn't fear him." Selvara's eyes narrowed slightly. "You believe he remembered you? That is impossible." "Not me exactly," Rylan said. "But maybe he remembered kindness." Silence filled the room for a long moment. Finally the Empress sighed. "Very well. I will allow you to examine him. But understand this. If Valkyr becomes unstable, if he shows even a hint of panic or fear, you must stop. You must leave the hangar immediately. I will not risk your life." "I won't be careless," Rylan promised. Selvara raised one clawed hand. A small metal card appeared in her grasp. She handed it to him. "This will unlock the hangar without alarms. Go only when the lights are bright. Speak softly. Move slowly." Rylan nodded. "I will." "But listen well, human," she said, her voice deepening. "Valkyr is not a simple creature. You may think he is broken, but ancient beings do not stay broken forever. If something inside him wakes, even I cannot predict what he will become." Rylan held the card tightly. "I'll still try. He deserves more than dust and darkness." The Empress looked at him one last time. Not angry. Not cold. But almost hopeful. "Then let us see," she said quietly, "if a human heart can reach a creature time itself could not tame." Rylan left the chamber with a mix of fear and determination. He knew the Empress had given him a warning, not a threat. She feared something about Valkyr, something deep and hidden. But Rylan only thought of the creature's tired eye, full of quiet plea. He would return. He would try. The lower hangar felt different when Rylan returned the next day. The air was still warm and dusty, but something felt calmer, almost expectant. It was as if the creature inside already knew he was coming back. Ryland stepped through the door quietly. Walker lay in the same place, but his eye opened the moment he heard footsteps. The gold glow was still faint but clearer than yesterday. He lifted his head a little, slow and heavy. "Hey," Ryland said softly. "It's me again." Walker blinked once. A small vibration rolled through his chest, like a soft rumble. Ryland took it as a greeting. He walked closer and showed his tools. "I'm going to check the machines on your side. I won't hurt you. If anything feels bad, make a sound, okay?" The creature didn't move, but his eyes stayed on Ryland. It was enough. Ryland knelt beside the large metal panel connected to Walker's ribs. The old screws were rusted. The wires were tangled and dusty. Some were burned. This old tech had not been treated with care for centuries. He gently brushed the dust away. "You've been like this for too long," he whispered. Walker let out a slow exhale, warm and deep. Ryland worked piece by piece, opening panels, checking wires, cleaning old circuits. Every time he touched something, he glanced at Walker's eye to make sure he wasn't causing pain. Surprisingly, the creature stayed calm. Sometimes he would shift his wings slightly, letting Ryland reach a better angle. A small gesture, but it showed trust. As Ryland worked, he talked. He told Walker about his home, the stars he traveled through, and the machines he fixed. Simple things. He didn't know if Walker understood, but the creature listened. At one point, Ryland opened a small side panel and froze. Inside was a glowing unit cracked down the center. A steady flicker pulsed from it like a failing heartbeat. "Oh no," Ryland whispered. This was not just a power module. It was a life support core, one of the earliest models made from a mix of metal and biocrystal. If it fully failed, Walker could lose strength or worse. It explained the tired breathing, the slow reactions, the deep exhaustion. "You've been hurting for a long time," Ryland said. The creature gave a soft rumble that felt almost like agreement. Ryland reached into his tool bag and took out a scanner. He waved it over the core. The readings flashed red. The unit was near collapse. The cracks showed signs of stress over many centuries. Ryland sat back on his heels. "If I replace this, things could change for you. But I need to understand how it works before I touch it." Walker tilted his head slightly, watching Ryland's hands. Slowly, Ryland walked around to face Walker directly. "Can I see your chest panel? I need to look inside." Walker hesitated. For a moment, Ryland feared he had gone too far. But then the creature lowered his body and stretched one wing outward, revealing a metal plate on his chest covered in dust and old welds. "Thank you," Ryland said softly. He brushed away the dust and tapped the edges. The panel slid open with a weak, rusty sound. Inside, more wires glowed dimly. But at the center, deep inside, was something unexpected. A second core. This one didn't glow. It was completely dark. Ryland frowned. "You're supposed to have two cores. One is active, one is backup. But your backup is dead." Walker let out a soft, pained hum. This is why you're weak," Ryland said. "Your whole system is running on one cracked, failing heart." He stepped back, thinking hard. Replacing the backup core could stabilize Walker. But if he messed up even one connection, the whole system could collapse. "Did anyone ever try to repair this?" he whispered. Walker blinked slowly. It looked like sadness. Ryland felt a knot in his chest. "They didn't even give you a chance." He stood and took a slow breath. "Listen, I think I can fix your backup core. Not today. Not fast. But I can do it. You'll have to trust me." Walker lowered his head and closed his eye for a moment, like a quiet nod. Ryland smiled softly. "Okay. Then let's start." He began cleaning the edges of the dead core, clearing dust, checking metal lines, preparing the system for a new unit. Walker stayed still the whole time, but every so often, he let out a slow breath that brushed over Ryland's back like a warm wind. Hours passed, but Ryland did not stop. When he finally stepped back, the core and wires looked cleaner and more organized than they had in centuries. "This is only the beginning," he said, packing his tools. "But you're going to be okay. I'll make sure of it." Walker lifted his head again. His eye glowed a little brighter. As Ryland walked to the door, he heard a soft, deep sound behind him. Not a growl. Not a warning. Something warm. Something grateful. Ryland paused and looked back. The creature was watching him with a calm, gentle gaze. No fear, no anger. Only trust. For the first time, Ryland felt the connection between them. Not human and beast. Not mechanic and machine. Something deeper. Something waiting to awaken. The palace station always felt quiet, but on the day everything changed, the silence felt wrong. Rylan sensed it the moment he woke. The air felt heavier, the lights dimmer, and the whole structure hummed under his feet like it was holding its breath. He grabbed his tools quickly and hurried toward the lower hangar. He planned to bring a new part today, a small energy stabilizer he built through the night. It was not a perfect replacement for Valkyr's backup core, but it would help support the failing systems until he made something better. But when he reached the lift, he found guards rushing through the halls. Some carried scanners. Others whispered urgently. Something had happened. Rylan stepped aside to let a team run past. He heard one guard say, "There was a tremor, something deep in the foundation, moving." Another whispered, "The old tech, it woke up." Rylan's heart dropped. He pushed through the hall faster. When he reached the lower level, the floor under him shook slightly. Not enough to knock him over, but enough to feel like something large shifted somewhere below. He ran the last few steps and reached the sealed hangar door. Dust fell from the ceiling as the door slid open. Inside, Valkyr was struggling. The great creature lay half upright, wings pushing weakly against the ground. His breathing was fast, shaking his ribs. Sparks flickered from the cracked core on his side. His chains rattled as old metal frames strained against new movement. "Valkyr." Rylan rushed forward. The creature's eyes snapped open, glowing brighter than before, bright with pain and fear. He made a deep sound, not a roar but a tremor that rolled through the whole hangar. Rylan reached his side. Hey, I'm here. It's okay. I've got you." He placed a hand on Valkyr's chest panel. The core flickered wildly. Rylan could feel the unstable energy vibrating under his fingertips like a heartbeat ready to burst. The palace shook again. Dust drifted from the ceiling. Old lights flickered. Rylan quickly opened his toolkit. "Listen to me, Valkyr. I need to stabilize your backup line. If I don't, the energy will overload your system." Valkyr let out a weak, trembling exhale. He lowered his head to the floor, trusting Rylan completely. Rylan reached into the cracked panel and pulled back a burned wire. The heat made him jerk his hand back, but he returned immediately. He worked with fast fingers, reconnecting lines, attaching the small stabilizer he made, and forcing broken wires back into working shape. "Stay with me," he whispered again and again. The palace shook even harder, as if reacting to Valkyr's unstable power. Pipes overhead groaned loudly. The ground trembled under Rylan's knees. He didn't stop. He connected the stabilizer to the energy node. A sharp spark jumped toward him and he flinched, but he forced it into place. The lights in the hangar flickered once, twice. Then Valkyr let out a long, deep breath. A heavy breath. A relieved breath. The trembling in his body slowly eased. Rylan checked the scanner. The cracked core was still unstable, but the stabilizer held the energy long enough to stop the overload. "You're okay," Rylan whispered. "You're okay." Valkyr lifted his head slowly. His eye glowed, not weak, not dying, but brighter. More alive than yesterday. But the ground shook again, harder this time. Rylan looked up. Pipes burst overhead. A metal beam cracked and started falling toward him. Before he could move, a shadow passed over him. Valkyr lifted his weakened wing and covered Rylan's body completely. The beam slammed onto the wing with a loud crash. Dust filled the air. Rylan felt Valkyr shaking from the impact, but the creature kept his wing fixed firmly over the human. Rylan pushed against the wing. "Move. It'll hurt you." Valkyr didn't move. He chose to protect him. The shaking faded slowly. When the dust finally settled, Valkyr lifted his wing. The metal beam slid off with a heavy clang. Rylan stood quickly and looked up at him with wide eyes. "You protected me," Rylan whispered. Valkyr lowered his head until his nose gently touched Rylan's shoulder. A small, soft gesture, like saying yes. Before Rylan could speak again, a loud alarm blared from the palace overhead. The Empress's voice echoed through the speakers. "All staff evacuate upper levels. A deep core tremor has reached critical pressure. Proceed with caution." Rylan's heart dropped. The tremor didn't come from the structure. It came from Valkyr. Not because he was dangerous, but because his body was waking up in ways no one understood anymore. And the palace couldn't handle it. Rylan looked up at Valkyr. "We have to get you out of here. If the palace shakes again, these supports won't hold." Valkyr's eye widened slightly, as if surprised by the idea of leaving. As if he had forgotten the meaning of freedom after 2,000 years. Rylan placed a hand on his nose. "I'm not letting you die here. Not after everything you've survived." Valkyr breathed out slowly, a warm gust brushing against Rylan's face. Then, with effort, the ancient creature pushed himself to his feet. The old restraints snapped off his wings like weak branches. Metal frames broke under his weight. The palace shook one last time. But this time it felt different. Not like a warning. Like something powerful was finally rising. Rylan stood beside him, breath shaking, heart racing. The creature was alive. Awakening. And trusting him more than anyone in 2,000 years. The day the palace shook was not the day Valkyr broke. It was the day he chose to stand. The palace stood in silence, but everyone inside felt the strange calm that came after a great storm. Riven walked slowly beside the huge creature he had repaired. The dragon predator, now named Kaler by the Empress herself, moved with steady steps. Its mechanical heart glowed softly in its chest, giving a low hum that felt warm instead of frightening. Riven looked up at Kaler and smiled a little. He still could not believe this creature, once abandoned for 2,000 years and thought useless, now followed him like a guardian. Many alien nobles still watched from a distance. They kept whispering. Some feared Kaler. Some feared the human who had repaired it. But their fear no longer controlled the palace. Something had changed. The Empress entered the hall, her long silver cape dragging behind her. Her expression was calm, but everyone could feel the strength behind her voice when she spoke. Riven, she said. Kaler listens to you more than anyone. Today that bond changed this empire. But the danger is not gone yet. Riven straightened. What danger, Your Majesty? She looked at the massive dragon. For centuries, many factions wanted Kaler destroyed. Now that it lives again, they will try harder. They fear change. They fear humans. And they fear the bond you have created. Riven felt a cold worry rise inside him. He had never wanted to be part of politics. He only wanted to fix things. Machines. Engines. Broken hearts made of wires and circuits. Not kingdoms. Kaler lowered its huge head and gently pushed Riven's shoulder with its snout. It was a soft gesture, almost like comfort. Riven relaxed slightly. The Empress saw it and nodded. The two of you stand at the center of what happens next. But you are not alone. Lights suddenly flashed across the palace walls. Guards rushed inside. Your Majesty, one called out. Unknown ships entering our atmosphere. The Empress did not panic. Instead she raised her staff. Bring the palace shields online. The floor trembled as giant energy rings around the palace lit up. Riven could hear the distant rumble of engines and the sharp crack of weapons firing in the sky. Kaler growled, its mechanical chest vibrating. Riven stepped close, placing a hand on its warm metal scales. We're not running, he whispered. Not this time. The Empress looked at him. Can Kaler fly now? Riven nodded. Yes. Its wings are strong enough. The mechanical heart gives it more energy than before. Then go, she said. Show them what a human and an ancient predator can do. Show them what loyalty looks like. Riven climbed onto Kaler's back. The creature spread its massive wings, each one glowing with mechanical light. The palace doors opened and a strong wind rushed in. Kaler launched into the sky with a powerful leap. For the first time in 2,000 years, the creature flew. Riven held on tight as they soared above the palace. Enemy ships filled the sky, firing bright lines of energy. Kaler twisted and dived with surprising grace. Every movement was sharp, confident, alive. Riven pointed. There. That ship is controlling the others. Kaler roared, its voice echoing across the clouds. A bright pulse erupted from its mechanical heart, firing forward like a beam. The enemy control ship broke apart, sending sparks and metal falling from the sky. The rest of the ships stopped firing. Confusion spread among them. Then one by one they turned away and fled back into space. Below, the palace erupted in cheers. Riven guided Kaler back to the landing platform. When they touched the ground, the Empress was already waiting, her eyes bright and proud. You saved the Empire, she said softly. Riven shook his head. We saved it. Together. Kaler lowered itself beside him, letting out a soft, warm rumble. Its metal heart glowed brighter than ever. The Empress looked at the creature, then at the human. This bond, she whispered, is something no one expected. Not even me. But it will shape our future. Riven placed his hand on Kaler's snout. Then let's build that future. One repair at a time. Kaler leaned into him gently, its sharp edges softened by the simple trust it now carried. And in that moment, under the bright alien sky, a long-forgotten creature, an Empress who needed hope, and a human mechanic who just wanted to fix broken things created a bond strong enough to change the fate of worlds. Not by power. Not by fear. But by understanding.